So today we're going to be making this mallet. It's going to be made out of cherry, some hard maple, and a purple heart accent on the inside. We're going to make some wedges in order to bind the handle inside there, and we're going to try to use as many hand tools as we possibly can. For those of you who watched my last video, I am recovering pretty well. Doctor says that it's healing up really nicely. A little apprehensive when using the power tools. I'm going to use some in this video, but I had to build myself up to it a little bit. So why don't you join me as we build this awesome wooden mallet. Hey, my name is Joe. Welcome to Shepherd's Workbench. All right, so to get started on our mallet, we're going to break down our rough stock. The outside of the mallet head and the handle is going to be made out of cherry. So we've got a couple scrap pieces, and we got this slab piece left over, which we're going to cut all our rough stock. Our core is going to be made out of this purple heart board, and we're going to accent it with this piece of maple. We're going to start off, we're going to resaw this piece of maple on a table saw, and we'll break down all of our rough stock and get it down to some sizes, rough sizes, and then we'll refine it after we get it all assembled. So let's break them down. All right, so we got our handle and we got our accent piece of maple. So what we're gonna do next, we're gonna cut out the bulk of our mallet head. Now this piece is a great piece of cherry except for this giant split through it. So I had to find something that was gonna give us, or yield us, the two sides of our mallet heads. Now our mallet head is gonna be about 7.5 inches or so wide, or long, and it's about 4.5 inches wide. So I marked out a spot here that is 15 inches long and about 5 inches wide. We're going to cut out of this piece where there's no crack, there's no blemishes or anything, but it's also in the heartwood of this slab. So we're going to cut this out in the crosscut sled and kind of fine tune it from there, and then we'll cut it into our two pieces after we plane it down. So let's get to cutting. All right, so we got all of our rough stock broken down for the most part. Next, we're gonna cut the tenon on the handle here, so then we can cut our purple heart to fit the handle with a slight taper in it so we can drive our wedge in the top when we get it all assembled. So let's go ahead and we'll cut that taper. So I bought these setup blocks on Amazon and they're great. They're made of brass, but they're perfectly square, and we're going to create a 3/16 inch shoulder on our handle, so then that will seat up against the table saw. So we're going to put this down on our crosscut sled and bring our blade up to that height so we can make sure that we cut the same all the way around. So let's get that done. All right, so we cut down our purple heart here. You can see I made some lines. So this is the exact center of the board. And what I'm gonna do is not bleed all over the piece. All right, so we cut down our purple heart. And you can see I marked out the exact center of the board. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut a 5-degree angle exactly in the, so it crosses right through the center of the board, and that will create our taper. We can use both sides, flip them, and that'll create our taper on the inner part. So when we wedge in the handle, it's got room to spread out and lock it in place. We're going to cut this on the miter saw. I got my miter saw set for 5 degrees, and we'll cut this out. Just so you could see what we did a little bit better. These are our pieces that we just cut. So on this maple, what we're going to do is turn it like this. So now you can see the taper that's created by that 5-degree angle, and we'll space it out for our wedge piece, and we'll cut this maple out to be the same sizes, and then we will glue them on and get them ready for tomorrow. So I goofed a little bit. I clamped up our maple and our cherry for our outside faces. Then I took a look at the pieces that we cut for our purple heart. Do you see a problem? Yeah. If we glue this in the center, our tenon is not going to fit. So I had to cut, well, I thought first, I was like, oh, well, maybe we can just send these through the planer. These are too short. They don't meet both the rollers of my planer, and they would just spit right back out. So we had to cut new pieces. So I cut new pieces, sent them through the planer, got them down to a thickness that we need, which matches our tenon. And then I cut our 5-degree bevel on there. So we've got our 2 tapered pieces in order to fit our handle. So tomorrow, once we let this glue dry, we will take our pieces, set where our tenon is going to go in the center of these, and then we will glue our purple heart in and glue the whole thing together, and then we'll use these scrap pieces to make our wedge. So we'll see you in the morning. All right, so we got our maple glued to our cherry block. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to mark out center of this to where the tenon's going to go, and then mark out where our purple heart and our wedge piece is going to go. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we got all of our layout lines here. So what we're gonna do is just glue it up and put it together. All right, so we got glued up and out of clamps, and you can see I stayed in my line that was there and cleaned up any glue squeeze out that came out from there. But here's the problem. Here's our handle. I cut a 5-degree angle in there, which I think was way too big. That's too much space for my wedge to make up in the middle. It's gonna stretch the cherry too far, and I think it's gonna cause it to crack. So my solution is I made 2 maple wedges that'll go on either side of this to kind of close the gap just a little bit. So we're gonna go with this. It's gonna be plenty strong enough with how much wedges we're gonna do, and we're gonna glue this tenon in. So I don't think we should have any problems, but famous last words, right? Right. So let's trim off the ends of this purple heart, and then we'll glue on our other block and fit it in. I'm not gonna get that out. Awesome. All right, so we got our mallet head out of clamps. I squared it up, taking one pass on the joiner, and then putting it through the planer just to square up the block. Cut off our excess on the crosscut sled. Next, we're going to go to the miter saw and cut the bevels that are going to go on the outside of this. Well, here's our handle. It's split and broke, which means we're going to have to somehow try to manage to make another one of these. that's going to be kind of hard because we already got our block in. So we're going to have to try to get this as close as possible. It's going to be hard, but I think we can figure it out. We'll repeat the steps that we did before, and for you guys, you'll just see a brand new handle in the next shot. So let's cut our miters on our mallet head, and off camera I'm going to make a new handle. So we got a new handle. I just shaped it out a little bit on the bandsaw, just kind of cut this little profile, and right now we're going to kind of use a spoke shave to refine the curves, round over the edges a little bit, make it a little easier on the hands in these sharp corners, and then we'll sand and assemble. So my hand tool skills need some work, but thankfully there's files and sandpaper. Well, here it is, all done up and pretty. For a finish, I used a 1-to-1 ratio of boiled linseed oil and white bond poly. Now, ultimately, this is something I'm going to be using in the shop, so the finish, I can always reapply some if it comes off, but we had some problems. We had some chip out in one of these corners here and things like that. The wedges didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted them to, but ultimately, it's going to be a tool that I'm going to use in the shop, so I'm not super worried about it. I'm glad that I left the handle square. It gives a good way to index where the mallet is. And also with having a 12-inch handle, you can go from the bottom for a really more powerful stroke, or you can choke up on the top of it for a little bit more detailed work. I think it turned out great. It's going to be a great addition to the shop. If you like these videos, please consider subscribing and hit that bell notification to get notified when I post a new video. Also, I'm going to be on the Proper Tools podcast, so you can check them out on Spotify. I'm going to be in episode 7. We're actually recording it tonight, so when this video gets released, it should be out by then. But yeah, I'm really super excited about this mallet. I think it turned out great. And yeah, well, thank you for joining me on Shepherd's Workbench.